Hello, my name is Shannon Gilmore and I am a peer support mentor, life coach, and Christian author. Welcome to the introduction of your e-course entitled 40 Days to a New You, Unmasking Your Ego. As I'm going to share with you some information that you can use right now in real time. So stick around to the end of this video. Let me just get this out of the way. Just because we will be delving into our egos does not mean that we are going to travel to the dark night of the soul. You can do that on your own. We are actually going to just unmask the ego in this course using a gentler approach. See, this course for me was a labor of love. And sometimes, love can get intense. But I'm going to rock your world with a soft roll. So please just get comfy and listen. I designed this course 5 years ago because I, at that time, found myself in a deep, deep transition. I was a woman who desperately needed help, but I had no women figures to turn to. I had been betrayed by most women in my life. And with this transition, I found myself in deep need of a female role model as I was going through a separation with my ex of almost 20 years. I was alone in need of some feminine support. I was a woman who needed help, and I sought the help from the only one I could trust, me. And back then, that's not saying too much, because I didn't know how I could trust her, my divine feminine. Because little did I know, I didn't know her as well as I thought I did. I only knew her from the perspective of her experiencing and surviving through pain. I had to find this woman, and I had to meet her all over again to finally learn to trust her. And how I discovered her was to find Jesus within. And how to find Jesus? I had to stop denying myself, as I had to stop trying to find my identity in the perspective of other people. Now, this course that I am about to take you on is a labor of love, because after I created it, I had no idea that God would take me through it so I could be of better service to you. I set myself on a quest to help you, and now I can, because I know what it's like to be alone, afraid, and helpless in the darkness, that illusion of self-made hope. I had to lose myself to find myself in life, and that will make sense to you as I share with you something we all need to learn: perspective. I'm not here to compare myself to you in any way. I'm only here as your sisters in arms, as I'm your advocate. But I'm not here to tell you what to do. You do with this information what you will. As I know living your life is not easy. I can't even imagine the hell that you've already been through. And I know it's pretty much darn near impossible to keep going sometimes, yes. Because I've been there too, I get it. But by me getting it doesn't change your struggle. The information in this video will. And I'm here to tell you, you gotta go through this, girl. But I believe in you. This course exists for you to show you that someone does truly believe in you. You may not believe in yourself, but you will. I promise you will. Watch this video because a little perspective can help change the direction of your life. Now, what I have to share with you is something personal that changed the course of my perspective. I was sitting in the yard one day talking with God. It was a beautiful day, full sun, no clouds. It was just such a warm, beautiful summer morning. I was sitting in my lawn chair in the middle of the yard, and for some unknown reason, I just decided to take off my glasses and cup my hands over my eyes just like this. And I started talking with God. But the moment I cupped my hands over my eyes, my environment on the outside of me seemed to change. It didn't really change, but my environment stayed the same. It was my perspective that changed. And this is what God shared with me in that moment. Do you want to hear it? Okay, he literally told me, things are not as they seem. That is a direct quote. As I was sitting with the sun radiating on my body, and yet with my hands over my eyes, it felt like the sun was not there. It felt like I was sitting outside on a cloudy day because I literally could no longer feel the sun, as I felt the coolness of shade on my body, as I felt the shiver of cold shimmy all over me. And this formed a thought in my mind as I envisioned clouds over top of the sun, blocking out the sun's heat, preventing my skin from being warm. And in my mind, I wanted the sun to come back because it really felt like a cloudy day. I was starting to believe it. But when I took my hands away from my eyes, I immediately saw that the environment didn't change. The sun was still shining and there were still no clouds in the sky. This, for me, showed me how powerful perception is. Perception is what forms our reality. And I was shown how I am led by my physical perceptions instead of being led by those spiritual ones. All because my perspectives of life has been what I see is what I get. Scripture has this to say. So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen. Since what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal. 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 18. But if your eyes are bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light within you is darkness, how great is that darkness? Matthew chapter 6, verse 23. My eyes have only known bad things that caused me to fear, and that is because of childhood trauma. And that is why we're here today, because most of us are struggling with trauma. Trauma is what unites us. Trauma shifted our perspective as we looked to the things we saw, and this prevented us from looking towards the unseen, the spiritual things. I was shown my eyes have deceived me in this experiment as I witnessed deceptive things performed by deceptive people who were rooted in deception. My eyes have been trained to only believe one perspective for so long that it's become my truth. See, trauma forces us to believe what is based on what is perceived in those dark truths, those dark feelings. This is what becomes our reality. This is how powerful we have become when we look to the things seen and not the things unseen, as the things we see are the driving force behind what we do. The things we see become our reality, or the things we see become our reality, or the things that we don't see become our reality. If your eyes are bad, they will only perceive what is bad, regardless if it is true or not. So covering my eyes on a sunny day, well, this allowed me to be guided by my eyes through perception that was deceptive, and I didn't recognize it because my eyes have only looked on bad situations and bad people the majority of the time. The perspective that I have formulated is that my eyes assume things that are simply not true. Seeing is believing, and seeing is deceiving, as the things that I saw that I thought were good for me turned out not to be good for me. And the things that I thought weren't good for me turned out they were good for me, and I missed out on some really good opportunities in life. So God said to me that day, quote, "Not everything is as it seems." And I did not get the insight to this message back then 7 years ago when I closed my eyes as I sat in my lawn chair under the warmth of the sun. It is only now, as I make this video public to you today in 2024, is my mind blown. Does this information make sense to you? For me, it does. Perspective leads us to a truth that we fully believe when we continually walk in that perspective. regardless if it's true or not. If we continually see life from a perspective of bad, then bad is all we will be shown. As bad is what we believe, as we won't be able to believe that good things are possible. It doesn't mean good things are impossible. It means in order to change impossible to possibles, we have to change our perspective. The truth that is universal is this, that the sun shines every day. Your perspective only hides you from that truth. Your perspective doesn't change the truth itself. When you make something else your focus other than what the truth is, your perspective changes. And you end up ignoring the truth. But you ignoring the truth does not make the truth obsolete. It still exists outside your perspective that forms your reality. If the sun is shining for you right now, and it is, regardless of the weather, the sun is shining. Even if it's nighttime where you are, the sun is shining somewhere. Just because your perspective gives reason to why the sun is not shining bright, this does not make the universal truth obsolete. The sun is a constant light in the sky that never goes out. Here's an example. Just because it rains, this doesn't stop the sun from shining. But our limited perspective leads us to believe that the sun has stopped shining. With my hands over my eyes, I believed clouds covered the sun, as this was a thought in my head, as my body was rooted in this belief. But my belief was false. My body could not feel the sun's heat when I covered my eyes, and even though I told myself that the sun was still shining, my eyes led me to believe in the deception. Why? Because my eyes were taught to deceive me because of the situations I personally have been placed in as a child, or I was led into by my choices in life based on my perception of the way my eyes view the world. My eyes dictated to my body what I was feeling in that moment. And as my eyes dictated to my body, I believed my body perceived my environment, which wasn't true. What beliefs do you have that you are willing to consider that maybe, just maybe, they're false? What is your truth? Your truth is different from the people around you because your truth is founded on perspectives. And from living from the perspectives of what you see is what you do or what you get. Or what you see is what there is. This is not the only perspective, my friend, but it is the only perspective that you might be hanging on to. And this perspective does not allow you to experience life to its fullest. Now, we all want something better for ourselves, as we know there is something more. But how do you get that something better or that something more? That's what makes it impossible, because our perspective binds us to the alternate perspective, because our perspective says, no, this is it. The truth is our reality. Forget everything else. What we see is what we get, or what we see is what it is. This perspective is from the physical, fleshly perspective. And who you are is a divine feminine woman. You are not just bound by the flesh and bone. You are bound in spirit. And God wants us to firstly walk in spirit. We can use our flesh to help guide us when we walk in the servitude of the Spirit first. Is this making sense to you? I have to say, for me, it's a bit of a challenge, but I'm working through it. I'm not here to challenge your faith in God. I'm here to challenge your faith that you have in yourself based on physical perspectives that has you living for nothing else but the physical. We are all in this together, and I am still learning this myself. This is heavy information for me too. Life teaches you that you never stop learning, as we are all works in progress, and I stand before you, I sit here before you today, thankful for this opportunity to share this information with you, because I'm here to tell you that your life that you know it is about to change. Your life that you know it right now, as you live through your current perspective, it's about to change if you want it to change. But you've got to change your perspective. I'm not saying do away with the perspective that you have now. I'm saying be more open-minded to the possibility that there is an alternative perspective that can and wants and is willing to work in your favor. In this course, you will learn to set aside your judgments in the way of you taking what you see or what you experience and running it through the filter of good or bad. You will learn in this course to not use filters of judgment, but use the filter of curiosity and answer most things with the word, how interesting. This word is a filter of perspective that will open you up to limitless possibilities. Are you ready to do that? Because life for you is a series of divine opportunities that are meant especially for you. Now, it may be hard for you to see that right now, but this is why you and I are here. We're going to work through this together for the next 40 days. I'm excited to share with you some amazing personal and biblical discoveries together. I have personally learned that it does not matter that you and I have different struggles, as it doesn't matter that you and I may think differently. And it doesn't matter what you or I may think or feel or do about the struggles that we face. All that matters is that what God says, and He has told us to limit our struggling simply by turning to His Word and endeavoring to go through life His way. But how do we get to that point in our lives where we believe in God enough to listen? Well, it's not rocket science, but all we need to do is to try and do our best. And I'm here to help you do that by encouraging you daily for the next 40 days as you and I show up to put our best foot forward, even when at times it's uncertain and we don't really want to or we don't know how. We all need a little help and we need encouragement. And sometimes we just don't know the direction in which we are supposed to go. We just need a little push. Push is an acronym I use for persist until something happens. When we take each day as it comes to put one foot in front of the other, we do not always understand why we charge on. However, when we keep going to do what it takes, no matter what, this is what allows God to make things happen in our lives that build up to tomorrow. Persistence in your new perspective will take you far. I promise you that. Here are some questions that will help you discover that seeing with your physical eyes has given you a perspective that has caused you to make choices around people and around interests that are not always in your best interest. Does trouble seem to find its way to you? Do you feel wanted when you help solve other people's problems or help them out of their problems? And why would this matter to you? Do you thrive on tense situations by leaving things to the last minute? Do you often feel anxious? Do you have racing thoughts? Do you find yourself ruminating about a conversation you had with somebody? Do you often think about what you could say in that conversation that has yet to happen with that person? Do you find yourself conflicted in your decision making? And do you find your prayer life uneventful as you feel you ask and you ask and you ask for God's help, but you assume that He's just not listening? Yeah, me too. It has everything to do with perspective, and we are going to get to the nuts and bolts, the nitty-gritty of the answers to these questions during this course. So your assignment from this video is for you to answer these questions that I have just shared with you. You are welcome to email them to me as we can go through them together. But definitely save them as you're going to revisit these questions later on. So how do you like this course so far? You have successfully sat through the introduction of this course called 40 Days to a New You, Unmasking the Ego. My name is Shannon Gilmore, and I would like to welcome you to this course as I look forward to seeing you in the next video. If you are watching this video from my social media page such as YouTube, Instagram, or Twitter, please see the link for a sign up to this course in the description of this video. I'd like to leave you now with this biblical quote. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Then you will call on me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. You will seek me and find me. When you seek me with all your heart, I will be found by you, declares the Lord. Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11 through 14. Now go make your day great.